Welcome to the Mindset Architect podcast, where it's all about creating the life you want, the business you want, and making a real difference. Join us in unlocking the code to true success. And now your host, Tony Caliendo, Master Coach with Rethink Coaching.
Welcome to the Mindset Architect Podcast, episode number 86. I'm Tony Caliendo, Master Coach here at Rethink Coaching, and I want to thank you for being here with me. Time is our greatest asset, and the fact that you're willing to invest and give your time to me truly does mean a great deal. So I truly appreciate you being here. Today, I'm going to talk about something that may actually give you more time back and increase your results or move you closer to your goal, which, gosh, is that not just music to our ears? As a busy entrepreneur myself, anytime I can do something that allows me to get time back and be more successful, I'm going to listen and pay attention because I want to enjoy my life. I want to have a balance between my business and my personal life. And time seems to be the greatest barrier between those two things. So when I can figure out a way to do this, and I've worked with my clients and doing it with them, I want to share it with as many people as I can. Now, this is a principle that has been around for a long time, and it's nothing that you probably haven't heard of. It's the Pareto Principle. You may have heard it as the 80-20 rule. You may have heard kind of the general concept of what it is. Today, I want to do a little bit of a deeper dive on it so that I can give you a gift that will actually give you time and results. Two amazing things. So first of all, the 80-20 rule, the principle is that 80% of your results can come from 20% of your efforts. And I want to say that again. 80% of your results can come from 20% of your efforts. It took me a minute to embrace that concept because I thought, how's that possible that focusing on such a small percent of my actions can give me this huge amount of return of investment of my time? Yet it does. So let's do a little bit of a dive on this, and I'm going to share what I'm working on with my clients that has helped them in this journey to honoring the 80-20 and getting them better results and more time. So first thing that will happen if you choose to embrace the 80-20 Pareto principle in your business and your life is that you're going to notice that you're going to be able to identify the high impact activities that you do and realize that those are your 20%. It's really that simple to sit back and look at your high impact tasks. So for most of us as entrepreneurs, we are in sales, and our high impact activities are lead generation, client follow-up, networking with other professionals and folks that we want to get into relationship with, specific and targeted marketing, all of those things that are really key activities that get us the greatest results are identified as our 20%. Now, what's the 80%? I like to call it noise. And that may be a little bit extreme, yet for me, when I did this exercise with my coach and we went through this, what she had me do was just track my activities for 2 weeks. Don't judge it, don't anything, just write down what I was doing for 2 weeks and what the result was from that activity. And so I diligently for the next 2 weeks would write down what I was doing, the results, and we reviewed those on our next coaching session. And what we realized, or what I realized pretty quickly, is that my high impact activities weren't getting enough time and attention. And I was busying and distracting myself with the 80%, the noise. I've talked about this in a previous podcast about distractions. I've talked about this in other podcasts. The 80% to me is a place where some of us like to go hide from the 20%. Because we can do things that are maybe a little bit more fun, a little easier. I can check it off my list and feel good about it. And I mostly make myself feel busy. It's the airtime that I filled in my schedule. And so when we did this exercise and I really looked at my 20% and I looked at my calendar, I was almost embarrassed at myself because of the lack of attention I was giving to the most important activities, yet I always had an excuse because I was busy. I was busy doing other things that I felt were important in moving me towards goal. The reality is a bunch of my 80% were things that needed to get done, but I didn't need to do it. They were things that for whatever reason I was holding on to because I maybe enjoyed doing it, or it was a quick fix for me to feel like I was moving forward. But the biggest eye opener for me was those high impact activities were getting robbed of time on my calendar. And so doing this exercise allowed me to prioritize and identify what my top activities are. And as I coach my agents and I coach my clients, we always look at sources of business. So I have a graphic that I'm happy to share where we look at 3 funnels on the top row and 2 funnels on the bottom row. The funnels represent sources of business. So when I was in real estate now as a coach, my sources of business in real estate was always database, open houses, and networking. Those 3 things got me 80% of my goal. Isn't that funny how these numbers line up? My other 2 were less important, but they filled in about 20%, 80-20. Here's the rub though. If I just focused my attention on my top 3 strategies, I'd get to goal. I get pretty dang close to goal. The other 2, might have been things like sign calls or internet leads or agent to agent referral. Those are going to happen just because of my activity. But when I focused on my top 3 sources, again, when I was in real estate, that was open houses, networking, and database. Those are my top 3 sources of business. When I just focused on those, my goals came true. And so this is truly a different way for you to look at it, but it's the same thing. Those top 3 business sources are your 20%. If you just focus on that, you're going to be okay. So we're able to identify quicker what those are, what those high impact activities are when you focus on the principle. The number 2 thing that allows to happen is time management. I think I've talked enough about this that you get it. The 80% was noise. It was a distractor. It made me feel good about myself. It kept me busy all day long. I was running around feeling very important about myself. And the reality was I wasn't managing my time for the critical activities because they were all buried in the other activities. I was calling a past client who's given me 5 referrals at the same level of importance as it was filling out paperwork for my virtual assistant to go do something for me. I was giving those 2 things the same level of attention when clearly I should have been paying more attention to the client who'd given me business, repeat business, and I should have been working on that relationship versus filling out some paperwork. So doing this will enhance your time management. It gets you to be really focused on the 20%. I will share with you when I first did this, and I really got serious about my top 20% activities, I was pretty much done working for the day by noon. And it was an eye opener that I was wasting a lot of my precious time. Remember, I opened this podcast by saying time is our greatest asset. And I was just wasting it. Now, what this allowed me to do was be more efficient in my time. I didn't go home at noon. What happened, though, was other incredible opportunities had the space to present themselves. Before I was busy doing other stuff and I was deflecting opportunities because I was busy doing. When I cleared the space by focusing on my 20% and really getting done with those critical activities by noon, I had the rest of the day for great things to happen, and they did. And as new opportunities came up and new projects came up, I applied the same principle and looked at what are my top 20 high impact activities for this project or this opportunity. And if I just focus on those, everything will be okay. So it really blessed my time. I had time to do things with my family. I wasn't interrupted. I wasn't feeling in the evening or on the weekend guilty because I wasn't working, because I had already accomplished the most important stuff needed to be accomplished. And oh, by the way, I was moving towards goal quicker. So time management is a huge gift in this. I know there's a couple clients that I coach that this has really made a huge difference in their lives. One is a gentleman that I coach that is running the family team, and like many, was distracted by a lot of things. And when we narrowed down what was important for him to do, and he wasn't hitting goal and he was behind goal and he was frustrated, and he has a massive database from what his family had created prior to him starting in real estate, and he wasn't making goal. We simply looked at and identified his 20%. Within 6 months of that focus, so that enhanced his time management and it identified the biggest return on investment of time activities. Within 6 months, we saw a dramatic increase in his leads and his business. This year, we opened Q1 the strongest we've ever opened, and he is achieving and exceeding his Q1 goal and already 70% through to Q2 with what he has built, all because we took away all of the noise and focused on his 20%. He has time for his family. He's got 3 young kids. He can be there when they need him to be there. He can help his wife if she needs help. And it's just been a beautiful thing to watch happen. So time management will be something that will be very different for you when you focus on the 20%. The other thing it allows you to do, and this is pretty obvious, it allows you to have better client relationships. I can't tell you the number of times that I had clients who were just so important to me and very near and dear to my heart, but I wanted to rush through my conversation with them. I wanted to rush through lunch or coffee with them because I had all this other stuff to do. And I was pushing those client relationships. I was really treating them not the best. And I was treating them as if they would never leave me, almost like taking advantage of it. When the reality was, if I continued to disrespect those client relationships, I was going to lose them. And so by focusing on the 20% and getting more time back, it cleared the space for me to actually improve my client relationships. The other thing that this will do for you, which is just a beautiful thing, is it allows you strategic market focus. So it's really going to help you to have the time to work on your business versus being in your business. And so what do I mean by that? In the business is doing all the stuff, the 80%, the noise, the administrative work, that's being in it. When you clear the space of the noise and you gain back some time in your schedule, you actually can work on the business. You can become a strategic thinker. You can take a step back and look at your business through the lens of the CEO of your company and analyze what is going on with your business and really doing some things, again, that will get you greater return of investment of your time. I think it's always important for us to look at the conditions or the areas that we serve in terms of business and ask ourselves if that's really getting us the greatest results. So, for example, and I equate this to, again, when I was in real estate and selling real estate, the majority of my business was condo resale, condo conversion. So we'd go in and take a building of 200 apartments, convert it to condo, and then sell each unit, which was great. However, in the 2008 financial meltdown, condos were the riskiest investment and you couldn't get loans on condos anymore. So a big portion of my business was put on hold strictly because people couldn't secure financing. Or if they could, the terms were ridiculous. So had I not just had a moment to step back and be strategic and say, okay, if this percent of my business is now being taken away momentarily, what can I do to backfill it? And I was able to look at the different areas that I served and started to look to see this area still had high turnover. This area, houses were being listed and being sold. There were active sellers and active buyers. In this area over here, houses were being listed, but they weren't selling. There weren't buyers in that area. I started to be able to identify where I should put my focus in the market. And we should be doing that regardless of what's going on. '08 was a huge eye opener for me as a team lead of a group of highly talented agents to make sure that we were focusing our intention in the right place. As Gary Keller says in one of his books, I think it's Shift, be in the market of the moment. When you have time to be strategic and work on your business, you can start assessing that are your energies and efforts being put into areas that are the market of the moment. So whether you're selling houses or you're selling widgets or whatever industry you're in, there's always pockets that are going to produce at a higher level. We need to make sure that we're in them. And they change. So just like for me in '08, before that, condos were a huge part of my business. They were selling, they were easy to sell, they got listed, we had a huge pool of buyers for them. And when that changed, had I just kept going with my old plan, more condos, more condos, more condos, I would have been a listing collector. I would have had an amazing inventory of unsellable listings. So getting some time back allows you to be a better business owner because you can be more strategic about what you're focusing on. The other thing that the 80/20 rule will allow to happen in your business and your life is it reduces overwhelm and burnout. And let's be honest, as entrepreneurs, especially if you're early in your career as an entrepreneur, we tend to be wearing a lot of hats, right? We're sales, we're operations, we're admin, we're all of that stuff. And when you learn to eliminate or delegate the things that you don't need to do, because I don't care if you're a brand new entrepreneur, you can find a virtual assistant, you can find a transaction coordinator, you can find leverage points that will allow you to focus on the 20% and avoid burnout, frustration, and overwhelm. I can't tell you the number of times before I adopted this in my business that at the end of the day, I was mentally just exhausted. I was overwhelmed because I felt like I was running in quicksand. I didn't feel like I was getting anything done, or I was in a place of burnout because I was doing everything and not getting results. And I was getting very frustrated. The 80/20 changed all of that. I quickly identified things to leverage off, and I quickly identified what I need to be focused on. And they were things that were getting me results, which are the most encouraging thing as an entrepreneur, is to take action and get a result. And so it reduced my burnout level because I was producing and getting results versus just producing and running at a really fast pace. So it will help reduce your overwhelm and your burnout. I think the biggest lesson in all of this, if you take away one thing from this today, is that there is a way to create more time and get better results, which normally it's the other way around. If I have more time, my results are usually impacted in a negative manner. When you adopt this and do the one key activity, I don't care about anything else that you take away from today. If you just adopt the one key activity of focusing on the strategic activities that get you the greatest return of investment on your time, if you just did that, all the other stuff that I talked about will magically happen and you'll be experiencing it. You may not know exactly what it is, but I promise you, you will feel different. You will feel more energized. You will feel proud of what you're doing. You will see your business moving forward and moving towards those goals versus being stagnant and the goal getting away from you. So one thing you take away from today is take a break from what you're doing and analyze what are the key activities that if I did at a higher level would get me more or the greatest results. And you can honestly just look at it through past performance. So for me, I knew that if I did an open house, that I would get at least one client from that open house. I had mastered and really perfected my skill set at open houses. I knew that was my truth. When I stopped to look at it, I thought, well, okay, if one open house gets me one, what if I did two? Then I would get two leads. Well, if I wanted to achieve my goal quicker, there's nothing saying I couldn't do 3 or 4 open houses in a weekend, right? 11 to 1, 2 to 4. I just was able to be more strategic about the time I was allocating to that activity that got me the greatest results. And that's really how I built my business. So pay attention, look at what you've done in the past that works really, really well for you, and put together a strategy on just 3 of those items, 2 or 3 of those items. Remember when I talked about the funnels, right? You can draw this out for yourself. Just draw 3 funnels, 3 circles, 3 targets. I don't care what it is. And know that those three things that focused on would get you 80% of your business. That's your 20%. The other two are just kind of fill in. They don't require a lot of time, a lot of effort. They don't require a whole lot of thought. They're just happening. But when you identify those two or three on that top level, it's going to change your world. If that is all you do from listening to today's podcast, I promise you, you'll see a difference in your results. This also applies to your personal life. This applies to every area. Here's what I know. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you do this in your business, it's naturally going to happen in your personal life. If you do this in your personal life, it's going to naturally happen in your business life. For those of you that are looking to have a great year in 25, let's take a look at our business life first, because doing this is going to give you the gift of time. If you have any questions about this or anything else, please let me know. Reach out to me. Tony@rethinkcoaching.com is my email address. You can find me on every social media platform, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok for now. You can also go to our website, rethinkcoaching.com. There's a box that you can fill out with your contact information, and you'll get a link to my calendar for a free 1-hour strategy call with me, whether it's about Pareto Principle or about anything else. I'm always here to help you out. But do yourself a favor. Take the next week or two and start identifying the activities that you can place into your top 20% and watch the results come from that. All right, team, we'll talk to you in a week. Make it a great one. Take care. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you must come check out the Mindset Architect Group Coaching Program. It's our monthly program where we explore the power of your mindset, help you identify what you truly want in business and life, and then help you reach those goals. Come check us out at rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. That's rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. We'll see you there.